again. We're back. Hey, we're still here if you're still around. We didn't want to end the show. Sorry about that. I think Britton pressed the button he didn't understand. Sometimes that happens. But we're still here. The show is just going to continue from where it was. So just imagine it ended where it did. And now we're picking up, Mike. We just wrapped up two little mice here. Palazzo Podcast.
UTOFF.
2 L's, 2 Z's.
Give me 2.
All right. Wait till they get a load of me. I wanted to mention 2 guys real quick that are worth noting to be aware of because they have some value. They might not be perennial studs. You're like, oh, wow, dude, I didn't know that guy existed. That's pretty cool. And his name is Jared Triolo, plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he can offer you second base and third base eligibility. Not too shabby. Any interest in Jared Triolo? Are you familiar with him, Mike? Is that just like, who cares Tuesdays? What are you thinking?
No, hell no. I actually like that call a lot. I was actually reading up. I will be honest, I did not know a whole lot about him until this morning. I was reading up on him. Looks like he's going to make this team for Pittsburgh. And I think you and I are both on the same page in terms of liking the Pirates this year. I'm not saying we're going to win the World Series or anything, but I think they're going to be better than people think. And I think he is a guy that people are sleeping on, and definitely offers dual eligibility in spots as well. I like him in deeper formats, 100%. So I like this call a lot.
Yeah, this is a guy that gives you some batting average floor that could be taken way as an afterthought, and also second and third base eligibility. That's nice. That's a tiny taste. I know he doesn't have a picture here on his profile, but he could steal a couple bags. And he hit 298 in 209 plate appearances last year. Yes, he struck out 30% of the time, but he's still growing. He's still learning. He's been around, and he's made an impression on this team. He's going to be a part of it. So he's going to be at the bottom of the order, that's for sure. So I'm not going to deny that. But Jared Triolo, a guy I want people to be aware of. And then the next guy, Ronel Blanco of the Houston Astros. Now, with the Houston Astros situation and their pitchers having some injuries, I thought Ronel Blanco was a guy we could take a look at who could, be a solid. We're talking about a guy who's probably a streamer most of the time, but depending on your format, how deep your league is, he could be someone you would put on your squad.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know much about him, so I'm learning from you on this one. With where does he qualify at?
He's an old man. He's 30 years old.
I'm old as shit then.
Yeah, that's right, mother putts. So Ronel Blanco actually was around last year, and if you tuned out, which I did, I wasn't familiar with him until I did my spring training daily, which you guys could check on Patreon. It's really, really useful. I do spring training daily. I look around the box scores, take a look at notes, who's done what, lineups, who's playing well, who sucks. Guys you haven't heard of, like Ronel Blanco. Last year, pitched 52 innings, started a few games, had a 23% K rate, and was serviceable. A 1.48 whip is like, ew, that's not great. But if you look at his game log, within Ronel Blanco's game log, you can see that there was some good opportunities for him to be useful. So it's not just all about the final stat line. Sometimes you got to look within the numbers in the game logs. And Ronel Blanco is a guy that is in the mix down there. And right now, the 5th starter, most likely, think about it. You got Framber Valdez in Houston, Christian Javier, Hunter Brown, more about him shortly, JP France, and then, everybody else is dead. Luis Garcia, Lance McCullers, Justin Verlander. I mean, this isn't forever, but this is for now. This is a guy that you can use for now who might be able to get you a few wins out the block before he heads back to relief duty or the minor leagues.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because Houston's got a lot what LA's got going on, a lot of injured guys, right? So they're gonna need some arms, they're gonna need some innings as well. So yeah, I'm interested. I'll take a look at him. Like I said, in deeper formats, I think he might be something that you could use in certain situations. He's certainly getting a lot of run support in Houston as well. So good call.
Yay! I know what I'm talking about sometimes. That's very, very good. On the Palazzo Podcast. All right. Now, I thought we would head into, we haven't done in a little bit, but we got to get on the record one more time. One more time! It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for a segment we've done a few times this preseason, and maybe for the last time before the real opening day on March 28th. It's Insane Fantasy Takes.
Insane Fantasy Takes.
Why you taking that player?
Insane Fantasy Takes.
Hey, hit the two. Yeah.
Insane Fantasy Takes.
Why you taking that player? Steve McNair used to raise the roof. Rest in peace, Steve McNair.
Why you taking that player?
Really got a raw deal. All right, so Insane Fantasy Takes. Mike, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first. What do you got?
Okay. Let's get it clear. Let's get it true. Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros You might think I'm cherry picking a lot of Astros right now. It's like, dude, we just talked about Ronel Blanco, dude. Get over yourself. Move on.
Wow,
But
dude.
Hunter Brown will finish the season with, how do I want to word this? A sub 3.25 ERA, and will finish as a top 10 starting pitcher.
Insane fantasy takes.
Why you taking that player?
Insane fantasy takes.
Why you taking that player?
That's right, baby. Hunter Brown. I love Hunter Brown this year. I'm all about Hunter Brown 24/7, 365 days a year. This guy has all the tools. His numbers right now, if you look at his 2023, oh my God, he's got a 5.19 ERA. So what? Take a look at his Sierra. Take a look at his underlying metrics. This dude can throw gas. He's got nasty stuff. And he's got a lot to offer in terms of fantasy with K rates. He can go deep into games. He's going to become one of their most trusted starters this year. Sure, he's from the local area of Michigan. That's not why I picked him, though. It's because everything's lining up for Hunter Brown to have a career year. 5 ERA. It's like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? But like I said, his Sierra, 3.74. That's a big gap, Mike.
Yeah, very big gap. And I actually like this call a lot. Somebody I was actually, admittedly, was sleeping on in drafts for sure. And a lot of people will run the other way simply because of, again, like what It-Govier just mentioned to and alluded with his ERA being ballooned at 5.19. This is their top arm before this time last year was Hunter Brown. So still very new to major leagues, adjusting, et cetera, et cetera. He's got the stuff. And I definitely think you're going to get at least at minimum the strikeouts from him. And It-Govier, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I think he can flirt with a 200K line there as well. So,
Yeah.
and his stuff is
Absolutely.
that good. So, if he can just locate a little bit better, obviously, and limit hard contact, I think he's somebody again that can get there. Top 10 maybe a little bit far fetched for me, but I definitely think he can be top 20, top 15, something along those lines for sure. He has the stuff to be that.
Well, there's reason to be concerned. You know, he had a 1.5 home run per 9, giving up a lot of dongs. And the walks aren't god awful, 3.18 per 9, 155 innings last year. But in the end, I agree. I think there's more room for more Ks. If he could improve his command and his location, I love it. Less dongs. If the dongs go down by 25% this year, I'm going to be a happy, happy man. Hunter Brown, baby, give it to me. I've been drafting him like a fiend, and I might not stop, if you know what I mean.
There you go. Love it.
All right, Mike, call your shot.
I'm going with.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Hang on. I just
ahead.
want to give a Famous Jay said, my insane take is Anthony Volpe will lead the majors in stolen bases.
No, they ain't happening.
Insane fantasy takes.
Way to go, brother. Famous Jay. I like it. That makes sense to me. I could see that happening. All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
I like Anthony Volpe this year. I hope he improves on that batting average. I think if we talked about him in our draft prep part 1, if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you go do that. I like Anthony Volpe this year. I hope he can raise his batting average. He was the Wyatt Langford last year. He was killing it in spring. Once people found out that he made the team, his ADP ballooned. And I hope he definitely can steal bases. I think he has a chance of possibly batting leadoff too with DJ LeMahieu and I believe was it his foot or his ankle? I can't remember what it was. Maybe it's his shoulder. I have no idea. But he could bat leadoff in that lineup. Yeah. And
he's an old man.
He's their top prospect. Yep.
Yeah. He's got to hit for better contact, though. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, agreed. The guy
I think Alex Verdugo will lead off a lot, though. You got to be careful of that. So
That's true. A guy I like who was back-to-back in the prospect rankings last year, Francisco Alvarez of the New York Mets, who I'm super high on this year. I have a lot of shares of Francisco Alvarez. My insane fantasy take, he finishes as a top 3 catcher this year. Lock it in, Francisco Alvarez.
Insane
Whoa!
fantasy
25 dong.
Insane
This
fantasy
is a guy who has legit 30 home run power. Most people, like Hunter Brown, will think that because he hit a sub 200 and are going to run the other way, thinking maybe he'd be a Cal Raleigh type kind of guy. Again, this is one of the top 3. Was a top 3 prospect. I believe he was number 2 heading into last year. Francisco Alvarez. In 423 plate appearances, hit 25 dongs. I think the Mets are going to be a bounce back team this year, especially with the addition of JD Martinez. But he's a legit 30 home run power bat right here. if he can improve that average a little bit and get anywhere between 240, 250, I think he can get there. So, and again, Francisco Alvarez is somebody that I like later in drafts. I think I've been taking a lot of him and Jonah Heim, Govia. I think both of those guys are probably the two common guys that I'm taking in drafts.
Yeah, Jonah Heim, I love him. Francisco Alvarez, I did get him in our Palazzo Neo for like $1. Nobody cared. So
wow, love that.
Yeah, so hopefully that works out well. That's my only share I have this season, but that doesn't mean I wasn't tempted by more. I'm just concerned about him being able to make more contact this year and stay true to the development track that he's on now. He's a very highly touted prospect. Francisco Alvarez everybody was coming in their pants for Francisco Alvarez. It's like, oh my God, this guy's the real deal. And hitting 25 dongs out the gate, even if he made terrible contact, who cares? There's obviously something there. But the question is, can this guy be someone who could hit 250, 260 or improve his batter's eye, get a little more on base percentage up a little bit?
They asked Frankie Lindor, I want to say the end of February or beginning of March, I can't remember, but they asked him how good is Francisco Alvarez, and he said he's not even anywhere near his ceiling right now. So I trust with Frankie Lindor. Obviously, he plays in the same team. Of course, he's going to say that, but that got me a little chubby, especially after I drafted him in a couple of leagues. So I just like him because I think he's an afterthought, especially at where he was in the prospect rankings last year. And if you're getting him for $1, that is a steal, in my opinion. But realistically here, Govey, let's come back down to planet Earth here. If Francisco Alvarez doesn't finish as a top 3 catcher, where do you see him fitting in terms of the rankings for next year? This time next year, where will Francisco Alvarez fall at? Realistically.
In the catcher rankings?
Yep.
Well, I would have to say next year, all things considered, he'll probably end up as a top 10 catcher. That's what I'm expecting. He'll be in the top 10 catcher rankings, but it would really surprise me if he went backwards. I expect him to grow a little bit. I'm just not sure I can trust on the growth that you're feeling right now. Top 3 catcher. I love it. I want it to happen. I would love for that to be the truth, but I'm still a little skeptical of all that stuff. I am. I'm sorry.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. When we get back to the end of the year, we'll come back and reference this video and we'll look at it and say, God bless, man, that Mike Virginia. He said Francisco Alvarez is finished as a top 3 catcher, and he's #1 catcher in fantasy. No, I'm kidding.
One thing I might say is Luis Campusano might pass him this year. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Not an insane fantasy take, but a mild, a warm, heating it up a little bit.
You've been in on Campusano for a while now too, haven't you?
Well, last year, I wasn't as in on him as some other people were. I want to give full credit to the Campusano psychos like Mike Curlin, maybe Zach Waxman, or is that some of those guys? I know Curlin was for sure. You had a real hard on for him. But I've warmed up to him in the last 365 days, and I have drafted him once or twice. Famous Jay says, take number 2. Juan Soto will be the #1 fantasy player in OBP leagues. Hit me!
Insane fantasy.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think he has a legit chance to be the #1 player in OBP leagues for sure.
Next to Shohei Ohtani
does. Yeah, exactly.
He'll be #2 next to Shohei. That's how I'm calling. I like it though, Famous Jay. I mean, Juan Soto has room to grow here. There's still more in the bag that he could bust loose with, and if he doesn't do that in New York, forever hold your peace, Juan Soto. All right, back to me. My name is Mike Govia. It's Palazzo Podcast. 2 L's, 2 Z's.
CUTOFF. Give me 2.
Palazzo. All right, my next insane fantasy take is, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, I will say this now, and I feel like it's not a crazy, maybe this is not insane, but I got to make it insane enough. So, 2024, my insane fantasy take for this season of fantasy baseball, Seiya Suzuki will hit 30 home runs and steal 20 bases.
CUTOFF.
Hit it.
Give me 2.
Insane fantasy takes.
Why you taking that player?
I just love the growth here now. I think he settled in nicely. Last year, he really took off in the second half, and you could see in this lineup. I mean, this Cubs lineup, we haven't talked about it maybe a ton, Mike, but there's a lot to like, and there's a lot of potential in that lineup. But now with Bellinger coming back and with Morel growing and Suzuki at the 2-hole, I mean, dude, that's a prime spot for him to unload tons of fantasy output this season. Seiya Suzuki, 30-20. I mean, he hasn't come close to 30-20 yet, but I'm going in. That's my insane fantasy take for 2024.
I like it. You're 100% correct on the Cubs lineup being a little slept on, especially with the guys that you mentioned, plus Michael Busch, who's one of my sleeper picks this year as well. Love Michael Busch. I think he hit in the lower third to begin the year, but I can definitely see him climbing up a little bit. Should get some shares at first base there. But Seiya Suzuki, look, he's got all red. If you guys are watching us live on the Palazzo Podcast YouTube channel, he's got a lot of red on his page, which is great. Red is a good thing. So Seiya Suzuki is definitely a guy that could get that. I think he's more likely to be a 2020 guy than a 30-20 guy. But I think for him, Gove, I think that the big thing, especially since he's been over on stateside, is his health, right? Like in the past 2 seasons, he's been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
if he can stay healthy,
he busted up. He busted up to a 126 WRC plus last year in 583 138 games. So he's growing. He's not an old man. I mean, he's 29. So he's in his prime. He's in the 2-hole. You're right. He does need to stay healthy. So hopefully he's locked in there. And if he's hitting 14 his first year, transition year, coming over from Japan, then he hits 14. Then he hits 20. Now he hits 30. Now he stole 9 bases last year. He only stole 6 last year. So that's the big jump here. Is if he can steal 20 bags, that'll be a big. That's why this is an insane fantasy tape, because last year he stole 6 bags. He was caught 7 times. So it's not great, Bob.
No, but at the same time too, hitting 20 home runs last year, I definitely think you can definitely sniff that 25-30 home run. That's not far-fetched at all. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh, up that in. Oh, Famous Jay's got one for you. Final take. I will come in first in the Palazzo Invitational League.
Oh.
Insane fantasy takes.
Famous Jay, you crazy. I want to have your baby.
Here's one that I think you'll like, Michael Govier. Vinny Pasquantino finishes as a top 5 first baseman at the end of the year. Lock it in.
Insane fantasy takes.
Wow. I love it. I mean, the guy was on a track. Everybody was, again, coming in their pants for Vinny P a couple years ago. Italian Breakfast. It was all the hype when he finally was called up on Twitter. Everybody was like, woo, yeah, yippee. 2022 was the year of Vinny P, and then 2023 was going to be the year of total dominance by Vinny P, and that didn't happen.
No, and I think I wish I put him in the memory of a goldfish in terms of ADP drop. I'm interested to see where he was being taken in drafts last year compared to this year. But I think he
was like 104. Easy. I remember that. I've been looking at that stuff a lot. Roughly 105. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, here's a guy again that can hit for power, can hit for average. Kansas City's obviously not a great lineup, not a good team, right? So, but they do have some good players between him, Bobby Witt, Cole Reagan. So they and MJ Melendez, Michael Garcia.
They're underrated, dude. They're underrated.
Yeah.
They're not a good team. This is a team that has a lot of talent. I think this is a team that will compete in the AL Central for a playoff spot. And they've brought in veteran pitchers like Seth Lugo and company to fill the void. By the way, Jordan Lyles is not going to be in the rotation. Jordan Lyles will officially be in the bullpen for Kansas City. It's just a little quick side note for all you Kansas City Royal fans out there.
Yep. Yeah, so I like Vinny P a lot this year. I have a lot of shares of him. I just think at the cost that you're getting him at, especially with how interesting he was as a prospect last year. I think this is a guy too that can give you a safe floor at first base. I have a lot of him, and I also have a lot of CES, which is not shocking. I think I've made that perfectly clear on these shows. So I like both CES and Vinny P this year. So I know you have him in the league that you're drafting. Is that the Palazzo Invitational that you showed earlier? That
is correct, sir.
Do you have him in any other leagues, Vinny P?
I might have in one other. I'll have to check my share report, which I haven't done yet. Always something people want to know. Hey, what are your player shares? Like, you don't always know more than everybody else, people out there. Have confidence in your own picks, guys. Stay true to yourselves. I did do a OC, which is on NFBC. That's a 12-teamer on Monday night, last Monday, so I can check that team as well. But, yeah, I like Vinny P. I'm down, man. Let's party.
Let's go. Vinny P. finishes top 5 first baseman.
Hell yeah. All right, I'll give you one more. We'll move on from this segment. Michael, give us one more. I want to say this. I would like to get on the record with my guy. Ryan Noda of the Oakland Athletics will hit 30 home runs and have an OBP of 4-0. Oh!
Insane
Ryan Noda is a guy that's built for OBP leagues. He's an elite OBP piece to have. I've talked about this. I drafted him in the main event last year, which was in March of 2023. So as soon as the Oakland A's took Ryan Noda from the Dodgers in the Rule 5 draft back in late 2022, heading into 2023, I was like, wow, this guy hit 54 home runs over 2 seasons in minor leagues. He was 25 years old. And his first season, he was able to hold his own on a bad Oakland team for the most part. Obviously, I mean, they're terrible record-wise. There's some talent there. Not like the Royals. But Noda has a really, really, really good batter's eye. This guy knows the plate quite well for a guy his age in his mid-20s. So I'm all about... The question will be, will he hit 30 dongs? So that'll be the harder part. I think it's much more likely he comes in around a 400 OBP than it is that he will hit 30 dongs, because he only hit 16, I believe, last year off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Yeah, especially with the ballpark factor in Oakland there. I don't know if he gets quite to that, but I love the call for OBP. If you play in an OBP league, Ryan Noda is a cheat code and somebody that you can get later in drafts. I think I saw somewhere too that he's going to bat leadoff. I think I saw with the Oakland. I think in the projected lineups. I know Louis might be there, but he actually might be batting ninth. I could have sworn I've seen that somewhere, but I don't know where from.
Yeah, well, that's MLB playing time. Mike Curlin has Noda in right-handed pitcher lineups hitting. He's a lefty. Ryan Noda's a lefty hitting leadoff because he can get on base that well. It's that big a deal. I love Ryan Noda.
I don't think that's a bad call at all. I actually like that. I think you may have hit on the head. He did hit 16 last year, so I mean he does got some pop in that bat. I think it's probably we're probably a little bit closer to that 15 to 20 homer mark for Ryan Noda. But if he hit 30 and had that OBP league, we're talking about a guy that would probably be a top 10 first baseman if he's hitting 30 dongs with an OBP that high.
Yeah, I mean, his batting average will hurt him, so he might be dismissed in those roto leagues, which would make him maybe 80s, 90s, somewhere around there. But yeah, the power will grow here. He showed power in the minors, and it's Oakland. It's not the best. Obviously, it's not the greatest home park for dongs. And he struck out 34% of the time last year, which is a fair amount. I'm not going to dismiss Ryan Noda and say he's a god, but he's going to grow too. He'll get better. It was his first full season in the bigs, guys. Think about that. Ryan Noda, first full season in the bigs, and he was able to lock down an OBP, kind of like Spencer Steer, who just showed up for his first full season in the bigs and had a really solid OBP. And that's what Noda did last year with a 364 OBP over 500 plate appearances. That's solid.
Yeah, love that call, especially in OBP leagues. He's a guy you can get later too. Good target. Love Ryan Noda as well. And I think you were in on Noda last year too, weren't you, Go?
Yeah, that's what I said when I drafted him in main event. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, though, because that was an average league, and Noda wasn't ready for that. That was a classic example. I'm glad you brought this up. Yeah. Make sure you know what your format is. You fall in love with the guy. Doesn't mean he's universal across average leagues versus OBP leagues, OPS. These things matter. Your roto versus your head-to-head. Make sure you know this stuff. This is... the veteran players are like, dude, we know, shut up. But there's a lot of people out there still learning this game and want to know this game. And we're here for you. We love you. We want you here at the Palazzo Podcast. 2 Wales.
Utah.
2 Z's.
Give me 2.
Palazzo. Give us one more insane fantasy take, Mike.
These aren't really insane. And this is more just me just being biased a little bit because I have so many shares of him.
Okay.
So I'm being 100% honest. Marcus Semien finishes as 2B1. That's going to be my last one there. Ahead of, you heard it right here, folks. Okay, I'm saying it. This is the insane part. He will finish 2B1 over Mr. Mookie Betts.
Insane fantasy takes.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact of I love this Texas lineup. Yes, I just got finished admitting I'm biased because I have a lot of shares of Marcus Semien, but hitting leadoff again, he's a guy that Mookie Betts is being taken in the top 5 picks. Marcus Semien scored 122 freaking runs last year, right? Gave you a respectable batting average at 276, has 30 homer pop, can give you 100 RBIs. I would be interested to see what these guys look like last year between Mookie and Marcus Semien in terms of just their overall stat lines and see how similar these guys were. I I'd be interested to hear that, or see that. But I love this lineup, especially with the addition of Wyatt Langford. Obviously, missing Nate Lowe is going to be a big hit to them because, again, middle of the bat kind of guy, batted 4 or 5. But he's going to be out at least the first month with that oblique injury, I think is what it was. But I like him in the leadoff spot. Again, I think he's extremely underrated. I love Marcus Semien this year. I was happy to get a lot of shares of him. I just love this Texas lineup. It's the Braves of the AL.
Insane fantasy takes.
It's funny to think about Marcus Semien. You play this game a long time, and I think back when he was with Oakland, and he was with the White Sox, and then he went to Oakland, and it's like, dude, this guy cannot. He played terrible defense, and then he got better defense, but then he couldn't hit enough. And all of a sudden, he finally started to put it together, the big blowout season, 2019, the Juicy Juice Ball year in Oakland. On an Oakland team, he hit 33 home runs and scored 123 runs. So that's when it all really took off. And then after that, he goes to Toronto on a 1-year deal, proves it again with 45 dongs, which was helped by the fact that Toronto played some of their games in Dunedin.
Buffalo.
So Marcus Semien should send a postcard every year to the people in Dunedin, Florida, saying, thank you for allowing some of our MLB games to be played there so I could hit a career high 45 home runs, which is by far 12 more than the Juicy Juice Ball when he hit 33 dongs in 2019. So that says a shitload to me. But yeah, I like it, man. Cool. I mean, I'm a little concerned he might, they won a World Series. I get a little paranoid about teams that get over the hump, and if they're at a certain age, they might pull back a little bit. They give so much to win a title, and the Rangers did that. That's my only concern, Mike. But
I'm an idiot, by the way. I'm an idiot, by
You're
the
an
way.
idiot?
Because I didn't realize that Mookie Betts hit 39 home runs last year. I mean, I did know that, but I forgot it. So 10 less home runs. They were very similar in RBIs. They stole the exact same amount of bases. Mookie had a little higher OPS.
Stay
and
true
their
to
batting
yourself.
averages. Yeah, batting
Screw it.
average is probably 30 points off. But again, noting that this is a guy that you can get in the pick 20s, 30s with Marcus Semien. Love him. Love the lineup. Give me a lot. Give me all the Marcus Semien, baby.
Insane fantasy takes.
hey, Mike, it's called Satan Fantasy Takes for a reason. You're not an idiot. You're a good American. You're a fine young man. We appreciate your service here. All right, a couple more things. We're getting out of here. It's almost over, so we gotta haul ass. We're trying to get as much draft prep stuff in for you guys. If you have any questions, take advantage of the live chat. This is your chance. This is your opportunity now. Speak now or forever hold your peace here on the Palazzo Podcast.
Palazzo! Utah!
Give me
two.
All right, now it's time to do breakouts. We'll give you a few breakouts here. We'll just throw it out there, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree with it. If you feel like, I don't know if this is a good idea. We could be morons. But it's always good to share what we call breakouts. When we say breakouts, Mike, I mean, we mean guys that will really increase their profile. Like, we're talking big jumps, not just little jumps, right?
Yes, 100%. I
Okay,
totally agree
good.
with it. Yeah.
Breakout! Breakout! Breakout!
All right. Mike, why don't you lead us off here? Give us a breakout. Breakout!
Yeah. A guy we talked about quite a bit last year, I think. I was actually looking back at an old podcast, just watching our old stuff. Yes, I do that, folks. All right. I like to watch our old podcast and see what we said. Some things
That's
that
good to know
prove on
where
whatever
we've
it may
been.
be. Yep. Edouard Julien of the Minnesota Twins. I like him a lot. The Frenchman, the French Canadian, right?
Oh, so
I
good.
like him a lot to break out with no more Jorge Polanco. I like him to break out this year. He's having a great spring. Now again, another OBP monster. You're gonna hit. I would assume the first third of the lineup there, so it should be some good run scoring opportunities as well. If you guys remember last year, it was really, really tough for him, for the Twins when Jorge Polanco came back. We all kept saying, like, how in the heck can they send this guy down? He's hitting the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
Hit 16 home runs and 408 plate appearances. So I like Edouard Julien, some guy you can target late in drafts, but I think he's a prime breakout. The position that they want him to play. That's why they get rid of Polanco. Love him this year.
Yeah, I love Julian. This is right off my menu. In fact, I would absolutely have recommended the same thing. I was already down with him last year, and he gave us 16 dongs and a 16% walk rate. Again, yeah, OBP leagues, he's a little bit more useful, but that batting average will get better too. He'll grow into that. This guy has one incredible hitter's eye, though. Like Ryan Noda, Edouard Julien, who I've seen in person at the AFL, loved watching him play, and now he's a real deal. We're talking a guy who hit leadoff here as well for these Twins. That's a huge deal, guys. These aren't just like average, hey, maybe he'll get some plate appearances. We're talking top of the order at times for the Twins. Julien. I love it. Great call, Michael. Locking that in. That's a real good call. I love it. There's no doubt about it.
Breakout.
So for me, my breakout, I want to give it up to Davis Schneider. I think Davis Schneider is going to take a big step forward. Again, this is another guy. You know, you're getting a lot of themes here about OBP guys. But Davis Schneider is a guy who can draw a walk. He's got power. He's a second baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays. So, with the fact that they got rid of Espinal, Santiago Espinal's gone. He's no longer in the mix there in Toronto. So that was a real nice hurdle to get him out of the mix. I know.
Same with Whit Merrifield.
Yeah, Whit Merrifield's gone. Kevin Biggio's still around. I get that. David Schneider, I expect to really take his game up here. We're talking about a guy who should play in 120 games this year, get 500 plate appearances. I mean, in such a small sample, he really showed his stuff last year. And his minor league numbers were like, wow, this guy's really got something to offer. I like David Schneider a lot. So I'm sticking with a guy that I know and trust, even though he's only 25. This is a great time for him to take his game up to another level. We're talking about some serious walk rates in the minors, like across legitimate amounts of time. This guy was drawing big-ass walks in 2022 at high A, double A, triple A, and then they're like, dude, let's call this guy up. This guy's got an 18% walk rate in 87 games over 400 plate appearances last year before they called him up, and they couldn't hold him back. He also stole 10 bags, 21 dongs in that amount of time. I love David Schneider. Give you a few steals, not a ton, but he'd give you a few steals, hit 20 dongs, and in OBP leagues, he's even more valuable. So give me David Schneider. Love David Schneider for a breakout this year. I don't know why they stopped playing him last year in Toronto. They started fiddling with the lineup too much, and suddenly David Schneider wasn't playing after he got off to that ridiculous start, which I mentioned this on like 40 shows. But I love David Schneider. Breakout.
I'm with you, dude. And if you guys search on Twitter too, he actually played some left field as well and made a phenomenal catch yesterday, laying out on the warning track.
Ooh.
Which was really fun to see. So he could potentially get some outfield starts as well. So it's clear they want to get him in the lineup somewhere and play him all over. His bat is legit. I think he's got some pop in there too. Going super late in drafts. I think you can get him maybe as a bench bat, some depth at second base, or maybe your MI. I like that call a lot. So I think that's a guy, again, huge breakout potential if he gets the plate appearances.
Jimmy, my guy in Delaware. What's up, Jimmy? My man. Jimmy is a great dude. Jimmy's lived a lot of life already, and I'm glad he's still on this planet. Shout out to Jimmy. He wants to know about Nolan Shanwell in L.A. Well, Orange County, really. He's on the Angels. What do you think of Nolan Shanwell, Mike?
Man, I am off and on the wagon here with him. He had a terrible start to spring training. A guy that they're high on. Obviously, they brought him up pretty early last year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I got to say he's wait and see for me. I don't even know if I think I have a share of him in our Palazzo Invitational. I believe I have him in that. But I got him super late. And standard 12 teams, he's a wait and see for me for sure. But he's got to prove it to me first. But that's a good question. I don't know where I'm at on him currently right now. But Gov, do you have any shares of him, and where do you stand on him for the 2024 season?
Did not get involved with Nolan Shanwell in any drafts so far, and most of my drafts are done. I think I got 2 drafts left, I believe. One head-to-head Cats, and then, of course, the main event on Tuesday. So, boy, I just didn't get involved with Nolan Shanwell. I don't hate him. I just felt like there was other options that I preferred, and I didn't see him having a monster year. Like, I got to have Nolan Shanwell. He's going to be a big deal this year. But, I could be wrong. This is a guy who was drafted last year, made his debut last year. So the Angels bring people up quick, and Shanwell's a guy who could be quite useful. If he's sitting in the top 3 of that lineup, I might regret it. I might regret not having any shares of Shanwell. But I'd like to see more power from him. That's one of my concerns.
Same.
He's a first baseman.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with him as well. I think they want to get him in the upper third of the lineup. I just don't think he's going to be able to produce that way right off the bat. So, like I said, I'm wait and see mode for him. He's interesting for me for sure, but I've been off and on with him so many times. I need to see it first before I'm ready to get all the way back in bed with him. So,
okay, all right. You got any more? Is that it?
Yeah, I got one more for you here. Okay. AJ Puck. All right. For those of you guys who follow me on Twitter, you know that I made a bold claim, one of my bold takes here. AJ Puck is a starter. That's confirmed. He's made the rotation. Okay. He has not thrown more than 66 innings off the top of my head as a starter or ever in his major league career. I think the most he's thrown was back in 2017 when he was in the Oakland farm system. Okay. I like him. Okay. I know Sixto Sanchez was signed as a reliever. I like AJ Puck to be the closer of the Miami Marlins at some point this season, shift back to the bullpen and get 25 plus saves. Lock that in.
Wow.
Breakout.
And the reason why I say that
Breakout.
is because we've seen him have success as a relief pitcher in the past. Tanner Scott sucks. And again, they don't really have a alternative option. And I think Puck's stuff, especially at the major league level, shifts better to a closer role. I want to die on this hill. I think he's a closer. I don't think he's a starter, especially with the amount of innings that he's thrown over the course of his years in his time in the major leagues. I don't think he's a guy that's going to be able to top 120 innings. But I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I hope he's somebody that can, can have success as a starter. He was a very tantalizing prospect in the Oakland system, and Miami is kind of like Tampa Bay. They know how to evaluate pitching. So I think he shifts back to the bullpen, though. I think he becomes a closer and gets 25 plus saves. That's what I'm going with. I know it's a bold take a little bit in terms of an insane fantasy take, but I like him as a breakout this year because I think you're going to get some starts, and I think you're going to get some saves, and I think he's going to be a guy who's going to be able to strike out plenty of people.
Hell yeah. All right, we got a few minutes left here. So at this point of the show, I just want to share guys that I like, and you share guys that you like that you want them to know about, just so we're on the record here, okay?
Yep.
So I got this graphic up just because I had it from a previous article. Sorry, Mike. You deserve a graphic, and we need to get you one. So I apologize.
Okay, I love it. It's good.
All right, so some of Govier's guys here, starting pitcher-wise. I want to let you know I love Tanner Houck this year. I think Tanner Houck is a guy. I drafted him heavily. He's one of my higher player shares. I've been searching for Tanner Houck. I wouldn't disagree with Garrett Whitlock either, but I have a little bit more faith in Tanner Houck to be durable. Even though Whitlock is higher in ADP, I'm not really sure how there's a big difference between Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock, but I've been drafting Tanner Houck because I just love this dude. This guy can throw gas. He can miss bats. There's a real seriousness to his game that I think is underrated, and I think Boston's rotation's better than we're realizing. I really do. I find myself drafting a lot of Boston starting pitching, so... Give me Tanner Houck all day long. He's one of my second most drafted pitchers. Tanner Houck is, along with Hunter Harvey, who's a reliever.
Washington
Nationals. That's right. I prefer Hunter Harvey over Kyle Finnegan, who's got back issues in the preseason, but they say it's not a big deal. But I just think Harvey's stuff is better, and I'm expecting Finnegan to flop. Finnegan's flop, Mike. Tanner Houck, I love him. What about you? You got a pitcher you want to share?
Yeah, really quickly. It's really crazy, too, because Tanner Houck gives me a lot of Chris Sale vibes in terms of just the delivery. Like, they look very similar in how they deliver the baseball. So I like that call a lot. I was actually big on Tanner Houck the past couple of years. I don't have any shares of him this year because he just burned me so many times. But yeah, I like him. I like him as a K guy for sure, and somebody you can get late in drafts. A guy I like, and if you guys aren't on our YouTube, you can go back and look at that. And if you aren't, you should go and like it because we're on our quest to 1,000 here. Ceddanne Rafaela, who I am late to the game on, I will admit. I do have a couple of shares of him. He's going to be playing should have the starting gig in center field, and also going to be getting some looks in the middle infield positions as well. He's one of Boston's top prospects, a guy who can steal bases, guy who can hit power, flash that in the minors. He's having a phenomenal spring training. I wish I had more. I wish I had him in every league, to be honest. But I just like the position eligibility that you're going to get from him. I love the stolen bases, and I love the pop that you're going to be getting from him as well. I actually think he's a better version of Jarren Duran. That's just my personal opinion. So give me a lot of this to Dan Rafaela. He's one of my top guys. The more and more that I watch him, the more I fall in love with him. So.
Be careful, though. I got to tell you, man, be careful. Don't fall in love with a guy who's new. This guy could go through a lot of rookie growing pains here. I know Rafaela's got talent, but it doesn't mean that this is his year, Mike. I just don't. No. That's one of my problems. I could have drafted him twice, and I passed and waited, and then he went, and I'm like, well, that's fine. And if I get burned, this guy blows up this year, then I'll look like a doofus. And I've looked like a doofus before, so that's okay. Blanco! Chad says Ceddanne's contact rate is a serious issue. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Chad. You know your shit, Chad. You should do your own show, Chad. You ever thought about doing your own show? All right, more here, more guys that I have a lot of shares of, Mike, are, and we're talking about guys that aren't as obvious. I'm not going to tell you I have tons of shares of Shohei Ohtani, which I do, or Adley Rutschman, which I do. Adley Rutschman could be a top 5 MVP this year in the AL. I actually believe that. I'm locking that in.
Love that.
I have a lot. He loves it. See, of course he does. Yep. Orioles. I know how to pull your Orioles heartstrings. I do actually have I've got a lot of Ryan Jeffers. You saw that earlier. I love Ryan Jeffers as a later catcher who can actually hit for a decent average floor and hit 20 home runs easy this year. I think Jeffers he was a guy that they like, and now that they realize he's better than Christian Vasquez, I think over this season, Vasquez will fade, Jeffers will thrive in the catching position for Minnesota. I also have a lot of shares of Will Benson. He was cheap, and he can give you a 20-20 size, actually a 20-40 season. He can see a 40 bags if there's playing time, and the playing time is opened up with TJ Friedel out, Noel Marte gone. Benson has an opportunity, Mike, so I love Will Benson this year. Got a lot of shares.
He was the guy I was going to mention, too, so we're on the same page there. With
Oh, really?
Benson. That was literally my next guy, yeah.
That actually freaks me out. Then maybe we're both wrong.
Damn it. Yeah, I made jinx.
Groupthink is a terrible disease. Be careful, fantasy baseball.
I have a confession to make, by the way.
Oh, we love confessions.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I remembered it because I was this close to forgetting, and we'll probably have brought it up at some point at a later show. But I think I'm coming around on Mr. Jack Flaherty. I know I poo-pooed him in a previous show that we did two shows ago. I think you're onto something with the I can't remember the pitching coach for the Tigers, but
Chris
he knows
Fetter.
Knows
Fetter
his shit,
better made potato chips in Detroit.
Yeah.
This is a love song between Mike and Jack Flaherty. Two men met, they fell in love, and their fantasy baseball forces were changed
So
forever. On a very special Palazzo.
I love Jack. I don't Flaherty. I like him right now, but I'm coming around on him, especially the more and more that I watch him. I just hope he can stay healthy. He can hopefully lower that whip in the ERA. But here's a guy that, again, I think you can get late. People he's a complete afterthought with how bad he's been over the past couple of years with the injuries, the walks, the hits, the runs, all that stuff. But he's in a spot in Detroit where I feel like he's going to have not a whole lot of pressure, right? He's going to be able to. Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, too, is a decent ballpark for pitchers to pitch in home games, and can rack up some Ks as well. So I'm coming around on Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, everyone's trying to shove this MLB announcing a formal investigation. Of course, they're announcing a formal investigation. They're going to do that. Doesn't mean it's over. Uncle Ted wants it. He wants Shohei to fail. Come on now, dude. Uncle Ted also says the only difference between my picks and a conspiracy is 6 weeks. You're right, Uncle Ted. Shit! God damn it, anyway. No. Shohei Ohtani is not Pete Rose. He's beloved. And he didn't bet on baseball either, so there's a lot of legal sports betting. This isn't 1975. It's 2024. I'm staying the course because I really have no choice now. I have to be all in. If I could trade Shohei Ohtani, maybe I would in trade leagues. Maybe I would. I don't know. But I'd get a fuckload, and I wouldn't bail on Dynasty. I won't. Even if he gets suspended for 20 games. Let's say, okay, well, he didn't do anything. Ohtani is fucked. Okay, wow, yep. Here it is. Uncle Ted, Ohtani is fucked. Ohtani is going to jail. There is a new thread on Twitter that might prove Shohei threw games for people. Get a thread on Twitter. Get the fuck out of here. At minimum, a wire transfer is a felony. A thread on Twitter. Oh my God, Shohei's a guilty man. Burn him at the cross. Jesus, come on. I'm not. This is slander. All right. I know we got to go. I know you got to go. I love. Oh boy. Oh, I love so many players. Can
I give you a couple on my own?
Yeah,
real quick
go.
I gotta head out of here. Okay. Real quick. I know this is not necessarily a hot take, but I love Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks as well.
Oh, my buddy James would like to hear that.
Yeah, love Ketel Marte this year, especially with another year with Corbin Carroll, Christian Walker. I think he hits in the top third of that lineup, obviously. Plenty of runs, plenty of RBIs. He's got some pop, and he even gave some stolen bases as well. Love him a lot this year. I have a lot of shares. Love Ketel Marte.
And by the way, we loved Gavin Williams, and this elbow injury has been a real bummer for both of us.
Yes, but I hear that he's only going to miss like a start or two. So at least
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It's not a death sentence.
Yeah.
It's not a death
I
sentence.
love
You're right.
Gavin Williams. Yeah, I'm so
Long
glad
term,
you
I
brought
love
that
him
up.
forever.
Yeah, I'm so glad he brought that up because I love Gavin Williams. He was my most targeted pitcher. I think I have the most shares of him starting pitcher wise is Gavin Williams. Even with the elbow injury, I still took him. So.
All right, well, there it is. We're going to let it go now. Life's got to move forward. Nico Horner is so good. That's true. I love Nico Horner this year. He's a great guy to fill in the steals void. If you're playing in roto leagues, he'll give you a lot of steals, and he can play a couple positions as well. Ditto from Famous J. There it is. A lot of fun. I love Brady Singer this year. Huge bounce back for Brady Singer. Lock this in. 2 years ago, he had a 3.21 ERA, folks. Last year was a rough year, but he still threw a lot of innings. Brady Singer bounced back in a big way. He's working on some additional pitches, some more breaking stuff to mix in with his fastball and his slider. And I really like Brady Singer to bounce back. So he's a steal to me right now. And I just gave that away. So it might screw me later on. Unless people think I'm an idiot, and then they'll just let me do it willingly, and then I'll shove it in their face later on, Mike, which would be great, right?
That'd be great. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, follow Mike on Twitter @_MikeVM and MJ Govia Palazzo Podcast. 2 L's,
Utah.
2 Z's.
Give me
Sorry
two.
we had 2 streams here. The first stream is part of this show. There's one show. It just got broken up in 2 parts. Follow Britton on Twitter, 2T's, 2L, Britton Allan.
Utah.
And everybody else in the
Give me
Palazzo
two.
universe. Discord's free, Patreon. It's all in the description. It's here for you. Uncle Ted, Famous J, everybody else, Chad. Hey, Ben was here. Great to see Ben. Love seeing everybody here. Great stream as always. Best of luck to everyone drafting this weekend. There's more. We'll have more videos. Mike will probably pop out with some more guys, more draft thoughts. Check out Mike's draft tips. It's still on our YouTube for the Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah.
He's offering you some strategies,
two.
some 3 basic tenets to follow. It's a quick video. We got a couple good videos like that, so we'll have more of that this weekend. We're here to serve you guys. We'll turn it over to Captain Jack Aubrey now. Peace, everybody!
Right, lads. Now, I know there's not a faint heart among you. And I know you're as anxious as I am to get into close action. But we must bring him right up beside us before we spring this trap. That will test our nerve. And discipline will count just as much as courage. The Acheron is a tough nut to crack. More than twice our guns, more than twice our numbers. And they will sell their lives dearly. They mean to take us as a prize. And we are worth more to them undamaged. Their greed will be their downfall. England is under threat of invasion. And though we be on the far side of the world, this ship is our home. This ship is England. So it's every hand to his rope or gun, quick's the word and sharp's the action. After all, surprise is on our side.